right, so just going to be breaking down the two tournaments that we had this week. So we got the WGC event, and then we got the Puerto Rico Open. So the WGC event is going to be a non-full tournament field event, and as you guys know, I typically do not like to attack those events, so I'll be kind of limiting my play over there, trying to do studs and duds, because I've noticed that those are the lineups that typically do better on those slates. You kind of just hit on a value play that goes off, hit on a mid-tier play that goes off, and then you're just stacking the high tier as much as you can. So that'll be the strategy I go with this week, so I'll touch on that in the video here shortly, and then later on in the video I'll have it time-stamped in the comment section below. We'll be going over the Puerto Rico Open, going over the picks for that one, and just dating back to last year, this was my best finish in a GPP last year. I finished 7th overall. I actually had a 9to5 Nation member take down GPP in this event as well, so it was a pretty good week for us last year in this one. So limiting ourselves on the Mexico Championship and attacking the Puerto Rico. So touching on last week's recap, had a really strong round 2 showdown lineup, and this kind of brings up the bigger point that I've been wanting to touch on, or I have touched on the last few weeks. It's that lineup had Abraham Answer, Charles Howell, and Adam Scott in it. All guys that kind of struggled round 1, but were all great stat fits. All had pretty good course history. The likelihood of them not doing well in round 2 was very low. Regression back to the mean, I keep touching on it. That's how I was able to get a 3rd overall finish on the showdown slate on round 2. So that was pretty nice for me. I was able to win my money back on the showdown slate from the whole week's entries for the 3rd straight week in a row. Kind of just using that strategy, see how round 1 plays, and then attack round 2 accordingly. So that was a really nice strategy. So last week you really need to have 6 for 6 across the cut line. And unfortunately with a lot of my lineups, I had Bubba Watson in those. The nice part about that is that the lineups that I didn't have him in, I most likely had Adam Scott in there, and that's just because I was trying to force in Bubba Watson, Patrick Cantlay, and Adam Scott. Those guys were all pretty much the exact same stat fit, all checking the boxes, and so sure, one of them might have missed the cut. There wasn't any reason to fade any of them other than the fact that you couldn't really fit any of them or all of them into your builds. I did have some really good lineups with Adam Scott in there, with Matt Kuchar as well. The value plays all hit as well, which is, I think that's the first time in a while. I listed off like 7 value plays, and they all made the cut, which was really awesome to see. Obviously, Bubba's putting was really horrible last week. It wasn't horrible necessarily, but he just kept missing putts by like 1 inch, or just right outside the cup, and then he ended up missing the cut by 1 stroke. If he makes the cut, I probably have one of my best weeks ever, but he doesn't, and that's just kind of how PGA DFS goes. Had a pretty solid week overall, so let's look to continue that this week. Getting into the overview for this tournament, we always look at the recent form. Some of those players are listed here. Obviously, Rory and DJ are in great form. Kuchar's finally coming back into some good form. Fleetwood's made like 31 cuts in a row or something like that. And then obviously Webb, Jon Rahm, and Adam Scott are just in tremendous form. Getting into the event history. So this event has only been played here the last 3 seasons. It is being played at a slightly new time, I believe, or time of the year, I believe. Some of these players, they've all played it and played it pretty decently well. You look at the reasons why. We'll touch on the stats here. So what we're going to be looking at is always total driving and ball striking. We are going to be factoring in driving distance a little bit, given that this event has only played here in its first 3 times right now. We didn't know if driving distance would be as much of a factor. It does seem like it's going to be. And putting has been a pretty decent factor here, as well as strokes gained approach. So that's kind of what we're going to be looking at for this week. So getting into the high tier here, this is where I'm going to be attacking the slate the most, I believe, is typically on these no-cut events, which I typically don't like to target. I want to go studs and duds. That's because the likelihood of one of these top guys going out and winning, or these top guys going out and getting top 5, is pretty likely, and that's what we saw a lot during the fall swing. That's what we typically see. So Rory, obviously a great stat fit, made 8 straight cuts in a row. All of his starts have been top 10 finishes. He had a T2 here last year and a T7 in 2017. DJ has won at this event twice in a row. He has made 8 straight cuts in a row, and he's only had 1 bad start on the year, and that was at Pebble Beach when it got kind of bad out weather-wise, so I really like him. His other start here was a T7. Jon Rahm doesn't have the best course history, a T45, T20, and a T3, but obviously he's a really solid stat fit. We like how he's been playing this year, so I don't mind him as a play. Hideki's fine. We obviously do like his recent form there. It's really great. Pretty much just been locking in T15 finishes throughout the year. Hideki finished T19 last year here and T25 the year before that. He is a really solid stat fit, and if he can get hot with the putter, he's going to have a great week. Webb Simpson has kind of struggled here the last 2 years, T39 and T37, so finishing in the bottom half of the players in this tournament, which isn't great, but we obviously just love his recent form. He is a great stat fit. He's T18 or better in all the stats that we're looking at this week, except for driving distance, where he hasn't really needed driving distance this year. Some of these other players I do like, but the one I like the most, probably in the high tier, is going to be Tommy Fleetwood. His recent form is okay, but how do you go wrong with a guy that's made 31 straight cuts in a row? He's had a T19, T14, and a second overall finish here for his event history, so we do really like that, and I just really like the price point there for him. Bryson DeChambeau, so I do want to touch on this a little bit because I touched on it last week somewhat. I didn't get why people were not talking up Bryson enough. You kind of look at the events he struggled in. One was the first event of the year, and he still went -2. The other was his first Euro event on the season. And then the other event that he struggled at, it was coming back from being overseas. So typically we don't like to, target players when they're coming back overseas. So in the events where we would have been playing Bryson a lot or enough, he's done pretty well at. And he's a really good stat fit at this course this week. He's T15 or better in all the stats that we're looking at this week, except for strokes gain approach, which is T113. But once again, his scrambling is top 50. So obviously we do like that. He had a T56 finish here last year. All right, so now getting into the mid-tier, I don't like this section as much. I've seen that I have personally played in the mid-tier a little bit too much on these non-full tournament field events. And, you really can't play cash in these non-full tournament field events because it's mostly all luck. So I'm going to kind of be staying away from this section, maybe just getting one of these players in my lineups instead of like 2 or 3 like I typically would. Paul Casey, I think, is going to be a fine play. T3, T12, and T16 in his first 3 starts at this event. His stats keep getting better on the year. Obviously, he needs to start playing better on Sunday. Let's hope that he does that this week. And, I just want to say, Round 2 showdown slate. Look for him. He's done really well in round 2s pretty much this whole year. Gary Woodland, I just can't find a way to really avoid a guy who is first in total driving and first in ball striking. I mean, how do you avoid that? He is 12th in putting as well, and he's 25th in driving distance. So we do like that. His course history is T17, T50, and T38. So we do like that. So Bubba Watson, it's hard to imagine that he's going to putt as bad as he did last week. And honestly, if he had made one of those putts, I do think he would have came back and had a Hideki-like tournament where he just comes back and starts to play well. Before that miscut, he had been dominating. He'd been in some really good form. He's still a really solid stat fit this week, so I can't see myself fading Bubba this week just because that putting should regress back where he's at least making half of those. The amount of strokes that he lost putting last week was insane. His course history here is T27, T9, and T38. So I do like Bubba Watson again as a pick this week. Like I said, I don't really want to overextend myself too much in the mid-tier or really in the low tier here, but we'll touch on it. There are some plays that I do like. So touching on the low tier here, I do like Answer again this week. He's just a guy that can go out and pop any week. But I don't really want to play too much in that range. The play that I do like the most is going to be down at 7.4. That's going to be Terrell Hatton. So Hatton has some great course history. A T19, a T3, and then a 10th overall finish. So obviously that's really great course history. Now, the only reason why it's priced down this low is because he hasn't played in forever. But when we saw him last, he was playing great as well. So sure, I get the price point because he hasn't played in a while, but I really do like that play. Especially at 7.4, we can definitely take that risk. Billy Horschel has been really hit or miss this year, which is kind of surprising. He has 3 top 10 finishes on the year out of 8 starts, but he also has 2 missed cuts. Good thing we don't have to worry about a missed cut here. He did play this course here last year, finishing T45. I like the price point for him for a guy that could possibly go out in top 10. He has a lot more likelihood than the rest of the players in this range. Now, some of these guys on the lower tier, I will just pop up. Their names you're not familiar with. Robert McIntyre is one as well. He's been in decent form other than that missed cut on the recent. But before that, he'd been pretty solid. So I don't mind him. Scotty Scheffler, just going to be an incredible stat fit. T12 in total driving, 9th in ball striking, top 15 in driving distance as well. So, if those stats hold up again, where they factor in a lot like they have in the previous, he's going to be a play that I do like quite a bit. I do wish he was a value play, so I don't see him playing him too much because there are some values that I like a little bit more. And if we're trying to do studs and duds, that's what the approach that we'll have to go with. All right, so some of the value plays I do like. Yeah, Christian here. I don't know if that's how you say his name, but relatively decent form. And he did finish pretty well at the last WGC event. That's really all I got on him. Sebastian Munoz. Obviously, he's been a great stat fit for us the last, pretty much the whole year. We've been playing him a ton. He is ranking top 15 according to my model this week. He just doesn't really have a weakness right now in his game. So I do like him as a play. Really with these values, we're just trying to get them to finish in the top like 20% or so of the field. And these are the players I think could definitely go on and do that, maybe even top 10. Lanto Griffin's been really hit or miss, but he's also a really solid stat fit. He's a little worse than Sebastian Munoz, which is probably why he's priced down slightly lower. We got Carlos Ortiz. He might get talked up quite a bit just because he is a golfer from Mexico. This is Mexico Championship. People tend to like to draw that narrative there. But, we like the golf that Carlos Ortiz has been playing this year. He is pretty long off the tee. I would rank it Munoz, Griffin, and then Ortiz. But, you can kind of switch those guys in and out how you want to. And then Lorenzo Vera here. I do like his recent form other than that miscut recently. He has played on WGC events before, so I don't mind him as a play. Zach Murray, I won't be playing too much unless you're really trying to fit in Rory and DJ. Then you would have to play him, and then you would have to play this guy from Japan as well, who, those recent starts there aren't the best, but I believe he's been playing on maybe the Japanese tour, the European tour. He's been relatively decent over there as well. I think it's the Japanese or Japan tour that he's been playing pretty decent on, so hopefully he can bring that current form in. All right, so we are going to get into the Puerto Rico Open Picks, so stay tuned and we'll get into that. All right, so getting to the picks for the Puerto Rico Open, going to be starting off here, Victor Hovland. Now, I'm a little bit worried about him as the highest price play. Now, he is going to be a good stat fit, but what does worry me is that he missed the cut at the Mocoba Golf Classic, and that's going to be a comp course that we're using this week, and we're only going to be using that when players don't have course history, and he doesn't, so it does worry me. I think the safer route, if you're trying to pay up for a stud, would be Alex Noren. Now, he doesn't have comp course history or course history, but he's made 9 straight cuts. They've all been really solid finishes, so I do like him a lot as a play this week. I just won't be playing him too much because I don't want to have to pay down for a value play, because when you get that low, they're really not good plays this week. Scott Brown's going to be a fine play, I think. Recent form was really bad before that T2 last week, but he does have great course history here. T17, T5, and then 2 T10s, and then he also made the cut to Mocoba. So I do like him. It's a little bit more risky. Probably won't play him in cash. I really do like Matthew Naismith this week. He's a really solid stat fit in this field. He's top 10. He also has that comp course history at the Mocoba Golf Classic, T48 there. He's also made 6 straight cuts. We've been rolling with him quite a bit as a value play this year, so I'm going to roll with him in this event. Kind of same for Adam Schenk here. He had a T16 here in 2016. Actually missed a cut at the Mocoba, so we don't like that. But it wasn't a horrible finish there. He's going to be a solid stat fit as well. Top 50 in total driving, ball striking, scrambling, and driving distance as well. So I do like him as a play this week. Zach Blair, surprisingly catching my eye this week. I did not see that coming. He's made 4 straight cuts in a row, which we do really like. And he has great course history. T62, T38, T59, and then he also made the cut at the Mocoba, finishing T14. So Zach Blair, surprisingly catching my eye there, especially at that price point. We do like that quite a bit. I wish he was a little bit cheaper, not going to lie, but he's going to be a good play. Henrik Norlander, who was a guy that was in really great form before that miscut at the Farmers, but he was able to bounce back and make the cut at the Pebble Beach Pro-Am. He doesn't have that much course history here, T39. He also made the cut to Mocoba. He is top 40 in total driving and ball striking, so I do like him quite a bit as a play this week. Jiang here, he only has comp course history. T48 there. He has kind of had a weird year, so he had a really rough stretch in there, and he's been able to bounce back and make a bunch of cuts in a row. So, for his price point, I do like him. Not overly crazy about him as a play this week. So, Kiao Heng Lee, I got a question about him on the live stream. last week it was, how do you feel about Lee? He was minimum price. I said, dude, I totally get it. He's been ball striking the ball really well and total driving the ball really well. He's going to go off on one of these weeks. And I'm thinking that this could be the week that he goes off. He's more a GPP play. He only has one made cut here in the last 4 years, but he's only had one start, and that was a T35 finish. So going to be fine with that. Davis Thompson here, he is an amateur who's 4th in the world in amateur ranking, so don't mind him as a play. He only has that course experience at the RSM Classic. I believe that's his only PGA Tour experience, so don't mind him. It's a little bit risky. He's definitely priced up quite a bit. Chase here, he's been a cut maker this whole year, making 8 out of 11 cuts. Do expect him to be able to make the cut here at this event. DJ Charahan, so he let us down in the last 2 events, but the dude is top 10 in total driving and ball striking. He's also top 50 in stroke gain approach, top 60 in driving distance as well. I expect the putter to be able to come around, and he does have great course experience here, T54, T38, and a T16. So Charahan at this price point, I like it. I wish he was just in a little bit better form. Tim Wilkinson, another one of those players who's surprisingly catching my eye. So he's not an elite stat fit in anything. He's T74, T58 in total driving and ball striking. Okay everywhere else. Decent course history, T17 and T21. His recent form is relatively decent as well. Nothing great, but we'll take that at that price point. Gomez here, really been struggling lately, but he does have good course history at T24 and a T47. Don't love that play, but we're just trying to find plays at this low tier price point. So Tyler here, McCumber, he withdrew at the Macoba. I don't know if he was injured or whatnot. He wasn't playing poorly. Before that, he had been playing pretty decent as well. He's been having quite a decent year this whole year. Don't mind him as a play. He's a guy that ranks 8th in driving distance. So, if that is going to be a factor this week, obviously he excels at that. I'm going a little bit lower. All right, if there ever was a week to play Zach Zucker, don't fade me, bro. # don't fade me. This is going to be the week. So it's a pretty decent as a play this week. Don't love it at all, but I would get it if you played him. He had a T49 here last year. His driving distance is pretty good. If you were playing him those previous weeks, this should actually be the week that you play him. So I'm not going to, but if you guys want to, you could. Not a horrible GPP play, value play, that is. Beard there, he does have good course experience, course history here. I won't be playing him. Same with Julian here. He had a T17 finish here last year. John Merrick, is that how you say it? All these new names. He had a T49 finish here last year, withdrawal the year before that, and T22 the year before that. He's top T53 in total driving and T19 in ball striking. So he's obviously hitting the ball really well. This is an event and a course where the rest of your game can really go and excel if you're hitting the ball really well. So I do expect him to be able to make the cut, and for a value play at that price point, we'll take it. But that's all we have for the Puerto Rico Open. I will be posting, a lot more information on that for the 9 to 5 Nation members. Link is in the description below for that one. Be doing a more in-depth coverage of that and the WGC. There's 2 events this week, so I had to cover them both, in detail, but not overly in detail to make the video too long. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. All right, that's all I have for you guys this week. If you enjoyed the video, please give me a like and subscribe. I do appreciate it. If you guys want more content for the WGC Mexico Championship or the Puerto Rico Open, click the link in the description below. We will have our core plays, our high exposure plays, a sample build for you, all in the link in the description below. All right, thanks, guys. Have a good week.